I've been thinking and occasionally worrying about the environment on various scales, both the global one, maybe even beyond the global one, and on a more banal level, just in our humdrum, local, typical street here in the south of England. So this is my digital story, in which I have a think about the pathways and meanings in a built-up environment. I was excited by Norman's pathway or beeline when I visited him some time ago, and I wondered how to do something with the same principles, values, and at least some practical impact. However, my garden is tiny and enclosed by 3 neighbours' fences. Norman has got a vast area of land, and he's had to work incredibly hard to make an impact on that, but he's had a very dramatic effect that I can't hope to emulate. However, even on a small scale, I've been surprised at how many opportunities there have been to make a small impact on the local environment. We moved in about 18 years ago, when there was only one other house occupied. A few little saplings had been planted on the street side, and the back gardens were almost devoid of life as we know it, Captain. The penultimate slides will give an idea of how nature has taken its course. This once included a sparrowhawk swooping into the back garden, seizing an immature starling, and then flying into the house with the aim of escaping through our front door, which was shut. It's a long story involving an upstairs window, but essentially everyone survived in the end, the starling included. I was grateful for a broadsheet newspaper on the table that helped protect me from goodness knows what injuries I'd have sustained. This is a picture of one of my daughters, taken in the garden not long after we'd moved in. This is the start of my journey, really, and my significant moments were combined when I realised that I had already begun to plant a small range of shrubs and grass and other bits and pieces. Plants, I suppose we'd call them, wouldn't we? Most of them have survived, although the little spindly one at the far end there, I'm afraid, hasn't survived to this day, but it's been replaced by some other, even more impressive specimens. I can't claim to have had divine inspiration, but I did feel an energy and an urge to proceed to develop nature in my immediate environment. Gradually, plants and more animals began making themselves at home. For a while, solitary bees came and went, while rogue rats did the same. Thankfully, they're all gone now. Then, with the growth of branches and foliage, more species of birds called in. Nesting boxes became occupied by blue tits and great tits in successive years. We also had nuthatches and tree creepers, a couple of wrens, and a whole variety of other things. I can't remember the names of all to list them now, but they do include robins, wood pigeons, the occasional greenfinch, and of course ubiquitous house sparrows, which apparently were on the decline a few years ago. Well, they're certainly not on the decline now. They've developed a noisy housing estate in our rapidly growing Elaeagnus bush. I continued to potter and rearrange a bit in the garden, even though there was not much scope to develop more. I've made some deeper meanings and realizations in the course of our conversations and reflections. Sharing with neighbours, For example, ideas, expertise, plans, tools, and an appreciation of growing things on both sides of the fences. Our neighbours happen to be really nice and we get on well, although we don't socialise to an enormous amount with them. But two of them came round and happily joined in trimming all the bushes and trees. Got a bit carried away actually in one or two areas, but it turned out okay in the end. We've also been noting the effects of the wider environments of a more built up, if still green, village. No more itinerant hedgehogs, for example. No way for them to get in or out, you see. No more frogs or toads. We've also noticed the resilience of plant life during extremes of heat and sometimes cold. I think there might be a metaphor somewhere there that we can apply on a grand scale. The resilience of plant life. And the ways in which strategic watering can sustain the greenery. These two pictures show different views, one from each side of the house. The one on the left shows a tree that we've had to trim a little bit by leaning precariously out of an upstairs window and snipping at it with trimmers. It didn't seem to mind, and the neighbours don't seem to mind. It gives a little bit of shade that's quite welcome sometimes, and I think it's the tallest tree in the street. And then on the right, you can see some of the developments at the back of the cul-de-sac houses. You can see different tastes in gardening from different people. Our neighbours on that side like things to be very precise, with lots of straight lines and clear demarcation of areas, not getting the grass mixed up with the flowers, for example. I think we make a good combination. On a grander scale, I've reviewed and revived my activity as a member of Greenpeace, and I'm not the only person who's noticed that it's been extremely hot lately. I intend to continue to support Greenpeace in various ways without getting myself into any trouble. In fact, we all need to support the efforts of Greenpeace and other similar organisations. Otherwise, we're all going to be getting very hot. And I keep thinking about the legacy that we're leaving, those of us who have children. Thank you for listening to this, and best wishes to this whole movement, and well done, Norman, and everybody involved.